From Mongabay.com, tracking hippos in one of Africa's last strongholds. From prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. This is Creature Guy Live Daily News. Remember to like, comment, and if you love talking about animals, share this show with everyone you know. Now, let's get into the animal news of the day. So, let's take a look at what we've found. So, here's the team. A team from the Wilderness Project has conducted a survey of hippos along Zambia's Kafue River, one of the last strongholds of the species in southern Africa. I believe the Kafue River is over 900 miles in length. The expedition faced regular close encounters with hippos, which are highly territorial and can be dangerous to people, especially when traveling by boat. The team counted nearly 2,400 hippos, most of them along a 350-kilometer or 217-mile stretch of the Kafue within the Kafue National Park and adjoining protected areas, underscoring the park's conservation importance. Despite their ecological significance as ecosystem engineers, hippos remain understudied and increasingly vulnerable to habitat loss and pollution, including upstream mining spills. That's something I haven't heard of. Mining spills. Okay. Let's see. Kafue National Park, Zambia. Hippos ahead. The warning comes from the lead canoe. Hippos are dangerous, highly territorial, and fiercely protective of their young. They're capable of capsizing boats and inflicting serious injuries. The line of 5 canoes hugs the riverbank to avoid a group midstream. But suddenly, a mother hippo, hippopotamus amphibious, and her calf charged down from the bank where they'd been grazing unseen. The animals barreled toward the river and the flotilla, the mother braking at the last second. Changing course, she and her calf plunge into the water just behind the last canoe. Oh, that's not good. It's only the second close encounter of the 34-day expedition. Wow. It took that long to count all these hippos. I mean, that's not surprising. I mean, depending on how long of a stretch of the river, if not the whole river, that's actually quite remarkable. I mean, when they're having to count all these hippos, says Mike Ross, leader of the Wilderness Project team. Oh, okay. So the head of the team's actually the head of the project's actually a part of this. Usually, you tend to hear with different conservation organizations that they're not a part of it. You can't really blame them. The water is their safe place. Never mind, I confused that with something else. And this particular stretch of the Kafue River in central Zambia is especially so. So, is this a recent picture? Well, they look pretty good, especially for the dry season. Just looking at the condition of the plants in the background and, seeing this amount of mud on them. Usually in the wet season, they're quite clean. Oh yeah, here's a baby hippo over here. So these are probably all females. I wonder though, this looks like a bull. Because if you look at the snout, unless it's just a younger individual, but even over here, might be the bull. So this is occurring in the Kafue River over in Zambia. Also, something else to mention is over in the Kafue National Park, which encompasses over 8,600 square miles of river system as well as savanna in the region, is the Tesebi antelope. This is not a very common antelope in the region. In fact, there could be as few as 250. So, I'm not sure precisely like their overall population in other countries or even other protected areas within Zambia, but at least within the Kafue National Park, it's an endangered species in the area. It can reach somewhere around 200 pounds. So they're a medium sized antelope in the area. So, over 82 days in 2024, Ross and the TWP team journeyed along the entire length of the Kafue, tracing its path from the river's source near the Democratic Republic of Congo border. So, the Congo is just north of Zambia. Through the Copperbelt's industrial zones, across the papyrus lined Dambo wetlands of the Kafue Flats, and down to the steep Kafue Gorge, a typogra- topographical topographical bottleneck that prevents some species like African tigerfish from moving upstream from the Zambezi. An ever changing river. Wow, okay, so this took 82 days. This is quite remarkable. In ever changing rivers, how Ross describes the Kafue slouching across open floodplains in its upper reaches, surging in shallow rapids around rocky islands and onward through broad channels lined by riparian forests to where it's held back in the vast expanse of the Tezi hydroelectric dams reservoir. Jeez. Wow, there's a lot of difference in the topography in this area. Also, within the Kafue National Park is an animal that's not so common as well. The western black rhino exists in this region. There's somewhere around 60 individuals. They've been recently relocated to the area. And this is a part of their former range. The black rhino had a much larger distribution than the southern white rhino. You could find southern white rhinos in different parts of Botswana, possibly even into Zimbabwe, further like back into the 1700s, but not so much Zambia. There's just certain introduced populations. And unlike the southern white rhino, the black rhino is a browser, and also its distinct curled lip helps it nip off different branches of acacia tree as well as different species of shrub. Let's see. So, the team counted nearly 2,400 hippos, most of them along a 350-kilometer, 217-mile stretch of river within Kafue National Park. Let's see. But beyond its boundaries, which sit roughly midway along the river's length, hippos were hard to find. That's interesting. So, wow, outside of the Kafue National Park, they were non-existent. You will hear in certain areas where the hippo exists in different parts of Zimbabwe, which has the largest hippo population. I believe there's somewhere around 30 to 40,000 hippos in Zimbabwe. And looking at the condition of many of the ecosystems there, they are overabundant. So that's why in some instances, like I'm not anti hippo hunting because in many of these instances, there's just too many for the ecosystem to contain, and there aren't enough lions to take them down or spotted hyenas, so you have to intervene. Hippos are still occasionally seen around the Copperbelt city of Kitwe and beyond. And Ross concedes that the Kafue Flats may support more than TWP's methods, which use the main river channel as the transect have captured. Hmm. I think they, to some degree, still have a widespread distribution. They just exist at very low densities outside Kafue National Park. Yeah, but it's interesting because Zimbabwe is just east of Zambia. Apparently, Zambia, it's a completely different story. Something also to mention within Kafue National Park is there's been a bit of an up and down occurrence with the elephant population here. Back in, I believe, like the 1990s, elephant population had experienced a bit of a decline, like to around the 2000 number. And then, at least looking at what's occurred, it increased to about 3,000. I think a bit of a decrease afterwards, like during the 2010s. Now it's bounced to about 4,800 elephants within the park. So they are increasing. There's also the red Leshwe antelope, which is doing better with its population. The red Leshwe antelope, there's about also six other species of Leshwe, and there's about 20,000 of these antelope within the park. And they also can reach somewhere around 300 pounds. And they are also semi aquatic. They do prefer the wetlands of not just Zambia, but even further south into the Okavango Delta of Botswana. Was there somebody else? Oh, there's also the puku. So this is a bit of a smaller species of antelope. They get to some around 150 to 200 pounds, and they are also somewhat semi-aquatic. And yeah, like the red Lechwe antelope, they're feeding on a lot of certain semi-aquatic plants. So let's see. The By the time Manga Bay joined this year's expedition in late May, the team had already completed a 600-kilometer, 373-mile survey of the Lunga River major tributary. Sheesh. This is quite impressive. They counted just 285 hippos there. Whoa, that's it compared to the what 2,400? Oh, here's a good picture. Yeah, it's like they're on a little island. Some hippos from a large pod seen grazing on an island. As the team's canoes passed by, the hippos decided to take refuge in the water, unleashing a large flock of red-billed oxpeckers that landed in a tree on the island. Oh, I'm so scared. No, yeah, red-billed oxpeckers. They're quite necessary for animals like water buffalo, rhinos, giraffes, hippos. They help get rid of old skin cells as well as parasites within these animals. So I was just making a joke because oxpeckers are like the size of a small pear. Um, and they're just feeding on insects. Once widespread across sub Saharan Africa, hippos have disappeared from much of their former range. Before the 1950s, they are believed to have occupied most areas with slow flowing water, ample bankside grazing, and deep pools. Today, their range is fragmented. It is mostly likely that human overexploitation through illegal hunting has driven the contraction of the hippo's range. Yeah, that's what I would think of as well. Says Mike Voice, a South African ecologist and Harvard University PhD candidate not involved with the expedition. I'm confident that hippos would have been abundant in other sections of the Kafue River in days gone by. Let's see. Voice says protected areas like Kafue National Park and the adjoining Mushingashai Conservancy now serve as critical refuges. In a largely dry continent, people and hippos often compete for the same vital resources. It's kind of funny. And hippos tend to lose out under intense human pressure. Okay, let's see. No, I don't want to read about the dams. Is there anything beyond hippo counts? The expedition's 12 members conducted a broader ecological assessment as part of TWP's Great Spine of Africa initiative, which surveys the health of the continent's major rivers. They documented other wildlife, Goliath herons, African fish eagles, elephants. Oh, maybe that's where the more recent. Oh, wait, antelope like the puku. Maybe that's where these more recent numbers came from. Well, this I'm very grateful for these numbers. And measured water quality, including pH and salinity, to establish the baseline of river health. Wow, this team got a lot done. I mean, thank you. And they're spying on us. And then I'm not even joking, like they really are. Hippos, oh gosh, approach the team after it stops to conduct research. Expedition leader Mike Ross says the hippos here are more curious than aggressive. Hippos are coming to us, seeing what we're about, and then leaving. Yeah, I think these guys are just, I don't know what you call it, the Navy SEAL hippos. The presence of so many hippos, while a hopeful sign for biodiversity, also brings risk. Soon after entering the national park's northern boundary, the team begins seeing them regularly, basking onshore with red-billed oxpeckers. Yeah, oxpeckers cleaning their hides, snorting as they surface from the depths, or stampeding into the water in a flurry of spray. Anticipating hippos' movements is crucial, says Dominic Muwahamubi, a veteran canoe guide from Livingstone and one of the expedition's boat captains. He reads the river like a map of hippo behavior. Observe the moon. They like moonlit parts of the river and may still be there in the morning, he advises. I've actually noticed that from what I've observed um, from film of nocturnal hippos. They do like moonlit areas of the lakes or rivers. Cold weather, they'll be on shore. And if your boat hugs the bank, they might charge down. Um, that is interesting. I don't think I knew that about when it dips down to like 30 degrees Fahrenheit occasionally and they'll come out with the water. That's interesting. In shallow water, they'll want to move to deeper spots. Don't block their way. Yeah, hippos also do not swim. They simply just crawl along the bottom of a wetland, river, or lake, and then they will bounce to top. So let's see. You have to. Okay, let's see. Um, oh, this is interesting. So their size and semi-aquatic lifestyle makes them hard to tranquilize and fit with tracking collars. Yet their influence on ecosystems may be greater than previously thought. I really didn't think it was that much harder to um, fit one with a tracking collar, despite us putting tracking collars on elephants, rhinos. That's interesting. Recent work by Voice and colleagues suggests hippos may be Africa's most impactful mega herbivores, potentially surpassing even elephants. This is probably due to the amount of dung that is secreted from them into the river systems and um, benefiting a wide variety of fish. They're trampling and wallowing reshape riverbanks, carve channels, and create gullies. Their grazing creates short grass lawns. That's actually pretty true. That benefit other grazers like the puku, and their dung fuels aquatic food chains. One study found that hippos ingest silica particles from grasses and deposit them into rivers via dung. Silicates are used up by diatoms, microscopic algae, which in turn nourish macroinvertebrates, forming the foundation of aquatic ecosystems. These effects are not all that easy to observe, but likely play an important role in maintaining the vitality of aquatic life. There any scenario picture of them, but I don't see any hippos here. There- Yeah, so they do emerge in these types of areas occasionally with the hippos. Oh, okay. So while we're guiding on the Zambezi River, I've seen even the fishermen will be fishing next to the hippos just because the fish would like to eat all those particles, which are not well digested by the hippos. Well, that's dangerous, but I guess depending on the day or the time of year, the hippos are quite docile. That's my guess. He adds that Cafu's hippos tend to be more tolerant than their Zambezi counterparts. Interesting. So these hippos are docile. Um, they're more docile. Um, And the reason I say that is because I'm guessing due to this observation, it's probably due to the lack of hunting in the region. In the also the Kafue National Park, there's only somewhere around 3 to 500 lions in over an 8,000 square mile area. It's not a lot of lions. So they're not having to worry about predation as much. There's also not a very large population of hyenas. And then also the cheetah. There's maybe like 130 to 150 of them in all of Zambia, so they're not very common within the country. But supposedly, Kafue National Park holds the largest amount of that population. But they're not going after adult hippos. It's possible it might go after a young one, but that's very rare. They're probably sticking to Leshwe and the uh, Tessabak. So let's see. He okay, though he notes their temperaments may change later in the year when water levels fall. Back on the river, not long after the encounter with the hippo mother and calf, the team faces another challenge. The river splits around an island, and both channels are blocked by hippos. The boats stall uncertain. Wow, so this is like a bit of a brief description of what occurred throughout their whole project. Ross points to a tree on the island. We're going to okay, blah blah blah. Let's see. Yeah, very nice Egyptian geese. Um, no, I think that's it. Okay. Well, it's I'm not sure if this was necessarily an increase in the population, but does look like it's or it sounds like it's stable. Looking at the numbers also within the Kafue National Park, and also because the Kafue River does run through in this park, it's probably what it's named after as well. So, let me know what your favorite species of mammal is over in Zambia. And from prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. This is Creature Guide Live Daily News. Remember to like, comment, and if you love talking about animals, share this show with everyone you know, because nothing is better than all animals all the time.